Hi everyone, welcome back. So last time we met was the setup. It was just finding your way around. And today we're going to actually open the book. And we're going to open it in a way that will open everything this summer by slowing down and noticing what's actually on the page. So the world of the book of Mice and Men. It's set in California during the Great Depression. The men that you're going to meet are migrant ranch workers. They're just ranch hands, workers who move from ranch to ranch, following the harvest, carrying everything they owned in a bedroll or a bindle. They had no land, no family with them, no place that was theirs, just the next job. Hold on to that picture, the rootless and worn downness of it, because it's what shapes everything, including the way that these men talk. So I want to give you guys a little word of preparation here because I need to prepare you for something. The language in this book, it's rough. It's crude talk, cursing, and even a racial slur about Crooks, the black stable hand that you're going to meet. I won't pretend that it isn't here, but I'm also not going to soften it. Here's how we're going to handle it. We don't read that slur aloud or repeat it. Not in speech, not in writing or narration. If you need to refer to it, call it the slur. Same as the coarse language. You're going to read it on the page, almost every page, but you never need to say it out loud. Now, why is this language in the book? Well, Steinbeck isn't being crude just for its own sake, and he's not approving of that kind of language. But what he is doing is he's showing you something true and hard. The cruelty, the way that these men were ground down, the way Crooks was pushed to the edges. We read hard things not to be shocked and not to imitate them, but to understand them. So why does this language even matter? Well, here's the heart of today's lesson. I could just tell you that these men lived a hard life, and you would probably nod and it wouldn't land. So Steinbeck doesn't just tell you that their lives were hard, he makes you feel it, partly through how they speak. The roughness of their language is the roughness of their life. It's the same reason we say someone curses like a sailor. A life that hard shapes a person, and it comes out of their mouth. So watch his range. The first page, you're going to read some of the most beautiful, gentle writing anywhere. A river, golden hills, deep quiet, and then the men arrive, and the language turns hard. That contrast is on purpose, so keep your eye on that all summer. So a question to carry when you're reading, I always like to have a little focus. So the one thing to carry as you read is this. Watch Lennie. The hardness in these other men, you won't find it in him. He stays gentle. He stays innocent. I won't tell you why. Just hold the question, what keeps Lennie innocent? So now we need to move on to your work. So here's how you're going to do your reading this week. Start with the first 2 paragraphs of chapter 1. Read those ones out loud, not the other chapter or paragraphs. Read it out loud to yourself or to someone in your family, but just those 2. Steinbeck built a real music into these lines, and reading them out loud lets you slow down and really hear it. When you finish, just out loud narrate them back to yourself. What did I just read? Describe what you read. That little retelling will really help the reading stick. Now, for any of you who are new to my classes or maybe have never done Charlotte Mason, a quick word on what narration is. So to narrate is to tell back in your own words what you read, as if you're telling a friend who wasn't there. It's not a bulleted summary. It's not copied lines. The retelling itself is what fixes the reading in your mind. At this level, you'll write yours down. So go ahead and read the first 2 chapters, then write your narration in your own words without looking back at the book, and then come back to the video. Go ahead and pause right now. All right, welcome back. So by now you should have read the first 2 chapters. If not, go back before you continue the video. And you should have also written your first narration. So well done. You've started in that beautiful opening, already met the harder world that the men live in. And holding both at once is what we're really learning how to do in this book. Now, let's walk the rest of your weekly handout. So let's look back at your narration first. Go to your page in the margin and find the 2 narration examples I put there for you. There's a strong one and a weak one. Read both of them and then read yours. And notice how yours compares with those. One note, the strong example, it's a little longer than you need to do. I made it rich just to show you what's possible, but 6 to 8 sentences, it's plenty, as long as you capture the essence of what you read. And don't grade yourself. This part is just for you right now. It's where you really take ownership of what you've read and the ideas there. So now that you have read both chapters, here's something. The shape of Steinbeck's sentences. So chapter 1 begins like this. And let's go ahead and read that. So turn to page 1 of the story. A few miles south of Soledad, the Salinas River drops in close to the hillside bank and runs deep and green. The long, slow, deep, and green. It's like the river itself. It sounds like a dream, actually. So now let's look at the beginning of chapter 2. So turn to page 17. The bunkhouse was a long rectangular building. Short, flat, a long rectangular building. The sentence is shaped like the very thing that it describes. No wonder George dreams of one night by the river before walking into that bunkhouse world that he knew too well. The longing is right there in the way that the sentences were actually written. Now, the next section is our find it. So finding something is looking at the words in the book. It's something that you can answer straight from the book. You don't have to think about it. It's something real on the page. But it is a question that is worth asking. It's one that points to something that really matters. So here's what I mean. On page 32, Lennie keeps saying how pretty Curly's wife is, innocently, like a child, right? Let me get to the page. But George sees a danger that Lennie doesn't, and he takes Lennie by the ear and he tells him this. Go ahead and follow along with me. So I am going to be the first kind of longer paragraph, about a third of the way down. It says, Lennie stared at the doorway where she had been. Gosh, she was pretty. He smiled admiringly. George looked quickly down at him and then took him by the ear and he shook him. Listen to me, you crazy guy, he said fiercely. Don't you even take a look at that woman. I don't care what she says and what she does. I seen them poison before. I never seen no piece of jailbait worse than her. You leave her be. Lennie tried to disengage his ear. I never done nothing, George. No, you never. But when she was standing in the doorway showing her legs, you wasn't looking the other way neither. I never meant no harm, George. Honest, I never. Well, you keep away from her because she's a rat trap if I've ever seen one. Oh, sorry, I have a phone call coming in. So, notice how Steinbeck doesn't just say that George said it. He says he said it fiercely. Stop on that word, fiercely. What does it mean? It means intense, almost violent force. But why is George fierce here? Well, because underneath the anger, there's a fear. He is scared for Lennie. That one word carries all of that. So a good find it question could be, what does George do the moment Lennie won't stop talking about Curly's wife? And look up how much it opens up to you. And it keeps going. On page 33, Lennie says that he doesn't like this place. George says he doesn't either, but they have no stake. Now, stop on that word. Stake is a share, a claim, something that's yours, and they have none. And then watch, George goes back to the table and he lays out a hand of solitaire. Steinbeck could have written, George sat down, but instead, solitaire. A game you play alone. What does that tell us? That George is self-reliant, steady, a thinker, and quietly a man who is alone. So that's what a find it question does. It looks like a simple what happened, but the what, it points to something that matters. So go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to write your own find it question from chapters 1 and 2. Something real that's on the page that you could point to the answer, but it's worth asking. Come back when you're done. All right. So next we have our analytical questions. These ask you to think. There's no single right answer like a find it. So we're going to write a real response to each. So the first question, George and Lennie's relationship is built on what they don't say. Before anyone explains anything, what do you already understand about these two? 2. Steinbeck describes the land and then the ranch and the bunkhouse before we meet a single person. What kind of world is this? Write your answers out and then make sure that you photograph the page when you're done with everything to upload to Google Classroom so I can see what your responses were. So the next section is questions to sit with. And these are questions that you don't need to write formal responses to. They're not polished answer section, but jot a few notes, even a few phrases or bullets is fine. We're going to talk about these or some of them in our live class. So come with some thoughts that are ready. I might also start an online discussion using some of these. Now, here's one to start. Look again at that dream speech, that little place, the rabbits living off the fat of the land. Notice that George tells it the same way every time, almost like a ritual. Why do you think he does that? Jot a note and carry that question with you. Now, we're going to go into the existential lens. This is our first lens and entrance into the existential. So what is that? Well, it's the big human questions about what we long for and what keeps us going. Everyone hopes for something. So what's one thing George and Lennie hope for? What's one thing you hope for? And the real one, what helps a person keep going when the dream is hard to reach? Take a few minutes and write your response, and make sure that you also go to the existentialist lens portion on the in the margin page and read the introduction to it there. So now we're going to look at the weekly image. So turn to the image in the margin. And this week, it's a photograph called Migrant Mother. You've probably seen this before. This will sound so simple, but don't skip it. Just don't. Set a timer for 1 full minute and just look at the picture. Where does your eye go first? Where's the light? Where's the dark? What are the faces and hands doing? And then close your eyes and build the whole picture in your mind. And say it out loud as if you're talking to someone who can't see it. Open your eyes and look once more for what you might have missed. And then set that visual image beside the opening chapters we just read. And write down what you noticed, anything at all. Next section is diction. So diction means the author's words that he chose. And every word an author uses is a choice. So there's 3 steps. The first thing is we look at the denotation, and that's going to be the dictionary meaning. So denotation, dictionary, they both start with D. Second is the connotation, everything that the word carries beyond the dictionary. This is like the feeling or the mood. And then the third is, why did the author, in this case Steinbeck, choose this word? So let's look at one together. We're going to go back to the first paragraph of the novel, and we're going to read the second sentence, but I'm going to start from the first sentence again. I'll just read the first 2. So page 1. A few miles south of Soledad, the Salinas River drops in close to the hillside bank and runs deep and green. The water is warm too, for it has slipped twinkling over the yellow sands in the sunlight before reaching the narrow pool. Why is he using the word twinkling in the first paragraph? Well, the denotation is that it's sparkling with light. The connotation, it gives the mood of alive and delight, almost a magical feeling. Why would he do that? To make the pool feel alive and enchanted before the book gets hard like the bunkhouse. There's no twinkling there anymore. So now I want you to go on and look at the words model and debris. Look at the denotation, look at the connotation, and then ask, why would Steinbeck use this? All right, last is our commonplace. So our Commonplace Journal, it's an old practice of copying out lines that are worth keeping. If you've been in my class before and you kept a real commonplace book, write it in there and photograph that to go up with your work. But if you're new, you can just do it here on the page. I left you a space for that. Your keep is the 1 or 2 lines that stood out to you and it stayed. So one tip, try to pull from Steinbeck's narration, his description of the river, the light, the world, not the dialogue. The dialogue carries the rough language, and the narration is where the beauty lives, and that's the lines that are worth keeping. But if it really shocked you, you can use the dialogue as well. Just make sure in your narration that you don't repeat the words. That's week 1. Your reading, your page, your first real noticing. Work at your own pace and upload everything to Google Classroom by Wednesday next week. That Wednesday rhythm keeps you from falling behind, but this is summer, so if a vacation or anything else comes up, just email me or send me a private message and we'll set a flexible due date. I just ask that you stay in touch. One more thing, there is a separate short video on your summer capstone. Make sure to watch that next because the capstone project is really the thread that ties the course together. So you did the most important thing today. You slowed down and you looked. That's great. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in the margin.